So we had the pleasure of meeting with the Made in 502 Creative Writing Competition.
Yeah, that's what it was. That was the beginning.
The beginning, just the beginning.
That's what we'll call it.
It's just the tip of the iceberg compared to everything else we're going to be doing. But tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been writing, and your goals with this new project that we had been talking about.
Right. Well, as far as me, when I was younger, I would tell my mom stories, and then she would write them down for me. So before I could write, I was writing. My grandmother would read poetry to me when I was a kid. I mean, literary stuff, not that, watered down, but the real deal. My dad read, I think it was The Lord of the Rings to me every night, before I went to sleep. And as I got older, I wrote more and more and more. And then, one day I put it down. There's this girl, she was like, oh, you don't want to be a writer, you don't want to do all this. And then one day I came back to it, and since then, I started hammering it out. Now, as of late, though, it really came to fruition. I've got a book I'm working on, The Boon to Titans. We're about 150 pages in. As soon as the school semester's over, I'm going to go ahead and get that wrapped up. I do chemical engineering. So it's like I always have a lot on my plate, so I get it done as soon as I can. But as far as, the book, like I said, that's just hope. How do you inspire that in people? How do you, communicate that? We'll be starting a publishing company, Master Author Publishing, first of the year. So that's right around the corner. Website will be up. Social media, you'll see us. And send out a lot of poetry. That'd be the first thing to hit the shelf. So it's exciting, a lot going on.
And Clayton Williamson is live in the studio with Louisville Arts Live. We broadcast Saturdays at 3 o'clock with Crescent Hill Radio. I got to say, I'm a big fan of your work. Truly, you've come out on a couple occasions for Louisville Arts Live, our weekly events, and then Made in 502 Creative Writing. And without further delay, do you got a small poetry piece that you wouldn't mind performing for the audience that's tuning in and listening?
Oh, yeah, no doubt. I got one right here. I remain quiet like the strength all in the silence, like the words of the alliance between new kings and titans. I can't entertain the reservations. Calm in the middle of the storm like the storm that made me, all in their eyes. I don't have tears for them. Old wars. Speaking the one language, I feel like a mason. The foundation, the reverberations, all cyclones. When I use air as a medium, right? Didn't they see all the arcane etchings carved into the gravestones? I feel like a mason. Walking through the cemetery, so much purpose. In the ink, you see the Holy Trinity between the master author and the page, like the arcane etchings in the gravestones. I'm going to raise the spirit from the foundation, like a mason. In the Boon to Titans, right? Darker than the ink I wrote for the new kings. I'm thinking like the first light since I was knighted.
Absolutely. You are listening to Clayton Williamson live in the studio with Louisville Arts Live. We do it every Saturday at 3 o'clock. Clayton, what inspired you to write that piece? It was very, when you performed it the other night, I had some time to think about it and we talked about it, but what inspired you to write that piece and what does it mean to you?
Well, really what it was is my little cousin bought me this new notebook. And, I used to do a lot of stuff where I figured, I'd do breaks, when people read it, stuff like that. But I realized more and more and more, because we're going to be doing a lot of video shoots, stuff like this, I had to write it in a way that it could be read, right? That broken form, spoken word. And so when I sat down, I thought about the things that inspired me, and as far as, what I do, my craft, and the purpose behind it, right? And all the people I'm trying to help. So you look out over all this, and then at the same time, it's like you have these new kings against you, these corporations, these people that dictate your life, almost from, just the circumstances you're placed in. So you have to be a titan against that. And so that's what I'm trying to capture, is that feeling of purpose. How do you communicate that?
Absolutely. That was great. Well, I tell you what, who are you when you're studying other authors? Who you reading? Who you checking out and at the library?
I'm going to be honest, I don't read other authors, man.
Okay.
I like some of Emily Dickinson's work. There's some guys who maybe write some far out sci-fi stuff I think is pretty cool. But I don't have a lot of chances to read. I'm always studying, something like that. And at the same time, the style that I have and my approach is so literary, is so different than, a lot of, I guess maybe the popular stuff that you have. I'm trying to bring it back, make it a real thing again. Sure. So that's what you have to do. So, yeah, I don't really read a lot of the authors.
Okay.
I just get in there.
Yeah. Well, is there anybody local that you support or you follow as far as writing from the creative writing competition or just being out and about?
I've got my man Alex Fairfax, and there's some guys, James Wolfe, he's a guy from Africa. I'm working on a play with him. One of my buddies, Doug Wilkerson, I want to give him a shout out, But just all the literary minds, just enjoy your craft and love it.
Absolutely.
Make it whole, make people want to read it.
Definitely.
Shout out to the bookstores, local bookstores.
Get out and buy some local books, folks. I'm telling you, without knowledge and books and, just the ability for people to get creative, I mean, where would we be as a society if we didn't have that along the way? And bookstores have been crucial to that, and libraries as well. But, yeah, get out and buy some local and support local as much as possible. It's a dying breed. I hate to say it, but bookstores are.
Well, we're going to bring them back.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why not? Why not, right?
Right. Well, what else you got for us? Can you give us another performance piece?
Yeah, you know what? I'll tell you what. I can read you a section from the book, actually.
Okay. Now, let's talk about the book itself. Can you kind of set the story? Because you're reading a section of the book, but can you talk a little bit about the characters, what prompted you to write this, and is this going to be the first book that your publishing agency is going to publish?
Yeah, no doubt this will be the first book that we publish. As far as what it was, I'd always wanted to write a book, but I can never get through it. You get, 10, 12 pages in there, scratch the whole thing. And so when I did, I wanted to capture hope, right? So basically what it is that you have the main guy, Tristan. And when he starts the story and he's in a jail cell, and, it's kind of representative of that moment that you realize exactly where you're at and how far behind you are, and that you become like a slave to your own devices, the things that wall you in. Mm-hmm. And so, what he does is he gets up and he leaves. He walks right out, and that's where the book starts. And it's him getting the things that he always wanted back, and the people that forgot about him, that don't even recognize him anymore. It's about him making that return. It's that real Count of Monte Cristo type, how do you inspire that will in people to get up and do it, make it happen?
Absolutely. All right, well, let's go.
All right. When his father died, he knew why. He was older now and wiser, so it hurt more. The price of pain is knowledge. He understood the fundamental reasoning, was able to understand the arcane etchings, saw through the eyes that loved, knew the love in those blueprints. The flaws in the fabric called out to him, spoke his name. He was older now and knew the torn threads and missing pieces were lost fighting the good fight, and it broke his heart. He knew his father died because of those flaws. He also knew the weight of the responsibility when he decided to finish his work. There was power there, infinite strength. He felt sadness and respect for Atlas, knowing one slip in the weight of the world would crush him. Yet he knew that if he didn't grab the reins, no one else would. And it probably wouldn't have made any sense to anyone else, the idea of taking responsibility for things that were beyond his control. In his mind, though, he knew that if he did that, then he would learn how to control them. He knew life was a process of maturation. Even the abandoned church is overgrown in time. Maria could see them in the transition. In reality, she was probably the spark, triggers to guns. And he knew, even when he tried, it wasn't something that you could hide. He slept less, had more nightmares, and smiled more. He was carrying the weight. In reality, she was probably the spark, destroy, rebuild. The designs were his now. Growth and glory. When his father died, it changed everything. All the things he told him when he was young became as true as diamonds. And when he looked at the world through whatever scope and pressure designed, they spoke out like heralds. It was all scope, though. The variation of gauges to armaments, fortifications. Nevertheless, pressure to diamonds. Pressure to diamonds. Machiavelli to a child. Intent and pain as guides, he sought the church. And there were no crowns, no rings, no diamonds. Never mind the food, the lights, the power. Not that these things matter, but a prince knows his place. A prince knows his people. In the streets, they struggled against the capital because they'd never seen his throne. Potential can hurt a man as much as pride. The struggle never hurt him. As Machiavelli said, it was the offense that it did to him and the things that he loved that broke his heart. And it should have barred him in fear of his harm, his interpretation of Old Latin. He put his life in that, or maybe that's what his life was becoming. Motivation hinges on direction. But as far as that he was trying.
And that was Clayton Williamson, live in the studio with Louisville Arts Live. Folks, we do this every Saturday at 3 o'clock. He is a writer, author, poet extraordinaire,
yes,
just an all-around great guy. Now, you're a student, too, right?
That's right.
Where you go to school? What are you studying?
I go to Speed School for Chemical Engineering.
Wow, that's deep. There's no way I could ever do...
I'm trying to attack on all fronts, man. you just got to try everything and make it work,
Right. Always have a fail-safe plan, too,
Well, that's it, because I figure I don't need to go to school for writing. If you love it, you go out and you do it. Right. You go to school to work, so change something.
Absolutely.
Something different,
Absolutely. Man, it's been a pleasure having you in the studio. I want to thank you for being my co-host today. So
it's always a pleasure on my end, man. I love it.
We're going to ride this rest of the hour out. We're going to have a good time. You got another piece for us, another performance, a poetry piece, if you will?
Yeah, I have one more, actually, that'll wrap up that section. All right. Hail Mary, there's no hesitation behind the crown. Ornately embedded, respect the ambience. The brightest jewels come from the most pressure. I've never been scared to put it on the line. It's embedded in me, Hail Mary. And walking through the city, you can see it. War-torn faces lathed in concrete, imbued with memories of love lost against the capital and reconciliation, trying to survive against themselves in the face of old battlefields. They never made our heroes martyrs. And Hail Mary to the memories. Aren't we outstanding against it? Like the last Hail Mary from old heroes? An enigma to new kings, the boon of titans, heir to the throne, imbued memories. Hail Mary, there's no hesitation behind the crown.
Wow, that's amazing. You're an amazing writer, truly. And I'll be honest with you, you're right up the alley of what I read and what I like. And there's a couple movies of what it sounds like is coming out of this book. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing. I'm trying to bring, literary stuff back. That let's speak the one language, right? That's why you write it, right? So you can try to capture an idea, write it ambiguously so people can fall in love with it for their own reasons. That's what Stephen King said. I think it's the most genius thing he's ever said. It's a romantic idea when you write. So you have to capture that.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Well, folks, you're listening to Clayton Williamson, who's my co-host for the Louisville Arts Live Show. We do it every Saturday at 3 o'clock. And we want to thank you for tuning in and supporting local. This local radio show, as well as the station, our goal is to go FM. So get out if you can. Go to crescenthillradio.com, make a contribution, donation. It is a tax write-off for you. So you're supporting local and elevating us on a local scene to support local as much as we can. So Louisville and regional music, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's no place like home. So this is Louisville Arts Live. Clayton, thank you again. You're going to stay with me for the rest of the hour. We're going to ask